This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. Indigenous Peoples Day is being marked across Canada and Manitoba with ceremonies and performances. CBC's Matt Humphrey has more on how the day was celebrated here in Treaty 1 territory.
Powwows, throat singing, food. With the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, comes a celebration of indigeneity. There were events across Manitoba. The artisan market at Sergeant Tommy Prince Place drew large crowds, as did celebrations at the Forks. In Thompson, we saw celebrations include hoop dancing. And back in Winnipeg, Bev Jones, a survivor of the 60s scoop. She says much has changed in the years since she was taken from her parents.
My mother had lost her status. She had married a Métis man, and so we were apprehended. And so I've been on healing for the last 43 years on my healing journey. So it's part of the healing journey. It's part of reconciliation, I guess. And it's about time. Nikki Komak-Sutiksak heads an Inuit resource center in Winnipeg, and she's a professional throat singer.
A lot of our Indigenous people on Turtle Island are very excited to, celebrate their culture, celebrate a part of their heritage that, once upon a time was taken away from them. It was banned. It's a beautiful feeling to see so many of our Indigenous people celebrating and being proud of who they are.
Brittany Grisdale from Broken Head Ojibwe Nation offered her body jewelry at the market, and designer Shauna Fontaine sold her earrings.
The other important piece to Indigenous Peoples Day is recognizing the colonial history and how there's been misrepresentations and harms done against Indigenous peoples. So it serves as a platform to reconcile those harms that have been done.
And to cap off the day, there'll be live music performances at the Winnipeg Art Gallery. Matt Humphrey, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Another person has died after last week's horrific crash near Carberry. RCMP say a woman who'd been in the hospital since the collision last Thursday has succumbed to her injuries. That brings the death toll to 16. A bus full of seniors from the Dauphin area was hit by a semi-truck while trying to cross the highway. Health officials say 9 patients are still in hospital. 4 are in critical condition. Police will release the names of all of the victims tomorrow. A memorial service will be held in Dauphin tomorrow evening. A cross-Canada raid has led to the arrests of 45 people and the seizure of hundreds of weapons, including 3D guns. Police carried out 64 raids yesterday in Manitoba, Quebec, Ontario, Alberta, BC, Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia. Winnipeg police raided a house on Greenway Crescent. A 21-year-old man is facing a long list of charges, including weapons trafficking and possession of 7 unauthorized firearms. Authorities say they're increasingly concerned about untraceable 3D printed ghost guns. Well, it appears the popularity gap province-wide between the governing PCs and the opposition NDP is gone. New poll numbers suggest the Tories are rallying back, but the news might not be good enough for the PCs. CBC's Ian Fraze explains.
Since Heather Stevenson became premier 1.5 years ago, she's lagged behind in the polls. But lately, the fortunes of the premier and the Tories are changing. A Probe research poll earlier this month suggests the PCs and NDP both enjoy the support of 41% of Manitobans.
And it was something we were sort of expecting because, generally what happens is when an actual campaign gets underway, the numbers change.
Last December, the NDP had an 11 percentage point lead over the PCs. By March of this year, the margin shrunk to 6 points, and now it's gone.
And this is Winnipeg only.
A political scientist says Manitobans are warming up to a Stephenson government.
I would say that they've changed their policy priorities, much more oriented to spending rather than saving.
But the PCs still have to win over more of Winnipeg.
The NDP still have a huge advantage.
In the city, the NDP's lead remains significant at 16 percentage points.
I believe that with these numbers today, in the city, the Conservatives would not win the election.
Tory MLA Abi Khan believes his team has the momentum.
I think we shore up those areas of support by continuing to do what we're doing. And we're going to continue to work hard, and we'll continue to get that message out, whether it's the city or whether it's rural Manitoba.
And if you're looking at this poll today, what it shows is that our team is the one that has a real opportunity to replace Premier Stephenson's government.
This election appears to be a two-horse race. The poll suggests only 40% of Liberal voters in the 2019 election plan to vote for the party again. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The poll surveyed 1,000 Manitobans and has a margin of error of 3.1 percentage points and an accuracy of 95%. Boxing took Vernon Cook around the world and taught him some valuable life lessons. Now he's passing on his boxing skills to the next generation of Indigenous fighters on Peguis First Nation. Cook hopes it'll keep youth busy and help them make the right choices. Here's the story of the Red Warrior Boxing Club.
My name is Vernon Cook. I'm the head boxing coach of the Red Warriors Boxing Club here in Peguis, Manitoba, and I've been coaching here for the past 6 years. I lived in the West End, and there was a corner store. Future coach, he was actually at a sub store, so I kept going there for sandwiches, and he asked me, "Hey, you look pretty big, would you want to try boxing?" I said, "Sure, why not?" In the early, mid-90s, there was a lot of gangs in Winnipeg, and that kept me out of trouble a lot. 1, 2 hook. A former partner of mine, nephew, committed suicide, and it really hit me hard. So I think, what can I do for my community to help out? I was walking these halls and I heard a noise coming from a room, and then I looked in there. There was some boxing bags there and some kids playing with it. And I was like, it dawned on me, boxing, let's do this. And that's how it started. Bear Brothers, wow, they're something else. They're hard workers. They dedicate themselves to the sport. They respect it. They take it in. They're the perfect students.
I didn't even know anything about boxing there, and then my auntie Rhonda told me there were some boxing classes going there. I really liked it, and I kept on going every day, like every single day. I stood really dedicated to it. It helps me take a lot of stress and anger out here. Yeah, every time I come in here and train really hard, yeah, it makes me clear my mind and everything. Yeah, every time I come home, I just reset my mind. Yeah, I feel really good. I learned actually quite a bit about myself. Like, I learned how to like control myself and that, and learn how to think. It's actually like a mind game too, like boxing. Like, learns how to get strong in your mind and that. I believe it kept them out of trouble and kept them striving for something else. And you see a lot of hard work they're doing. It could go either way, you know. They chose the right path, and I always let them know it's all about choices. About the boxing gym, I'll probably be just a normal kid laying at home or something. It got me really motivated. I was really kind of like, you know, wasn't as motivated as before, but now I'm like on an everyday goal. I can really inspire kids to like join boxing and that, yeah. Just the feeling, knowing that I'm helping people, doing good. That's what I want to do, is to give back to my community. And that feeling just keeps me going. Like, the Bear Brothers, they're making me proud. But I make sure what they can find from boxing is like what they can take out of it and apply to themselves later on in life. What I know is like my kindness and teachings will live long way past what I'm gone. So that's my goal.
CBC meteorologist John Sauter joins us now with the forecast. John, what happened with all those storms you were talking about yesterday?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. People in Winnipeg would think the storms didn't happen, right? But they actually did happen. There was a risk here in Winnipeg, but it really hit the southwest. I'm going to start with showing you a radar replay of what was happening between 8 o'clock and 11:45 last night. So this isn't happening now. This is from last night. And the reason I want to show you this is because down around Boissevain, I saw some online video of a nasty weather system. And just north of Killarney at about 9:30, this storm moved through. Look at all of that lightning, torrential rainfall, and some rotating winds. Environment and Climate Change Canada is investigating a possible rotation under a storm that did this to these grain bins. Stephanie sent this in. This is north of Killarney, and this is what happened at about 9:30 last night. So if you can imagine a storm rotating like this, bang, 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 just denting all of these on the same side. Yeah, pretty nasty stuff. So the storms did happen. Saw some pictures of some pretty large hail. I showed you some of that from the Interlake yesterday. Same sort of thing, almost baseball-sized hail in southwestern Manitoba last night. Right now, we're at 26 degrees. And that was my forecast high. Northwest winds, that indicates us, instead of having south winds, we're behind the front. So all of that storm energy has now moved off to the east side of the Red River Valley. We've still got some major heat over in this area, and showers and storms stayed east of us today. They were west of us yesterday. If we zoom in a little bit, nothing here is too serious, but if we go a little farther east and bring in the lightning, Kenora just got hit with a storm, but a non-severe storm, meaning wind gusts were probably less than 90 kilometers per hour, and we didn't see hail that was quite that large, so not considered severe criteria, but still some lightning and some pretty heavy rain just moved through. And that will continue slowly tonight. And as we move on into tomorrow, we still have that line set up out to the east, southeastern Manitoba, northwestern Ontario. And we'll see some rain here in the morning, but that's followed by some clearing. I think that by the time we get to about 4:30, we're seeing sunshine, certainly out to the west, but some cloud rolling into the far north. And then Friday is a straight up sunny day, bit of a sun cloud mix in the afternoon, but it does look like a light wind day, and we're going to see some pretty nice conditions on Friday. 16 tonight, more comfortable for sleeping with the windows open. If you don't have air conditioning, chance of showers in the morning, it's pretty positive. We'll see some rain in the morning and then partly cloudy with clearing to follow and a comfortable high of 23 for tomorrow. Across the north, we've got showers in the far north. Otherwise, varying amounts of sun and clouds through northern Manitoba. In the south, we've got pretty nice conditions out to the west, 23s. The rest of us see a morning shower and then some afternoon clearing, also around 23. Normal high is 24, so 23 in Winnipeg. The cloud sticks around a little bit longer out to the east, and in northwestern Ontario, we'll see occasional showers and, again, a risk of storms. But 22 in Kenora. On the other side of the warm line, it's 30 tomorrow in Fort Frances.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Time is running out as rescuers mount an unprecedented effort to find a missing tourist submersible. There were high hopes this morning after teams heard tapping under the ocean, but as we hear from CBC's Chris Reyes, there's been little progress and oxygen stores are depleting quickly.
The search for the missing vessel Titan lost in the North Atlantic is expanding and growing ever more complex by the hour. This morning, a glimmer of hope, a faint sound detected by a Canadian aircraft.
The Canadian P-3 detected underwater noises in the search area. As a result, ROV operations were relocated in an attempt to explore the origin of the noises.
One naval expert says there is a way that the passengers on board could make a sound that would send a signal to those searching for them.
If this noise is being made at 30-minute intervals, it should then be possible to lay a sonar buoy barrier, a pattern of buoys around the area where you think it might be, because these buoys will give you bearings. And it's a matter then of getting cross fixes between all of those bearings. So you should therefore be able to localize where the noise is coming from.
What makes this mission even more complicated is that the search area has now doubled to the size of Connecticut, and the subsurface search is about 3,200 meters deep. In the next 24 to 48 hours, 10 air assets will be deployed. This includes the C-130 aircraft, P-8 aircraft, some of them flying continuously up to 14 hours, searching the surface of the ocean, and then subsurface. Those assets are being deployed as well.
This is a search and rescue mission, 100%. We are smack dab in the middle of search and rescue, and and we'll continue to put every available asset that we have in an effort to find the Titan and the crew members.
French and British experts have joined the Americans and the Canadians in this mission that is growing more urgent by the hour. Chris Reyes, CBC News, Boston.
Coming up, we'll bring you a sneak peek of a CBC documentary called Time to Eat. It features 4 different First Nations and some of the foods that bring people together. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. It's National Indigenous Peoples Day, a time to celebrate First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people in Canada. As part of that celebration, CBC Indigenous produced a documentary about food. Time to Eat takes you to 4 different First Nations and shares the recipes that bring them together. You can see the whole documentary on CBC Gem, but we have a treat for you to savor here tonight. For Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte, April marks the beginning of spearfishing season when pickerel are plentiful.
Regardless of how simple a recipe is, it can flood you with childhood memories as soon as you smell it. It can make you feel young again and take you back home.
We'd watch him fillet fish when we were little, and you know, be on either side of the board. I think he is using the same 40-year-old board that he used when we were kids. So when I was a kid, and my dad would have us for the summers, and he was a bachelor, and there were only a few things that he knew how to cook, and he would shake and bake them all because that's what he could do. And he was a big angler and a fisher. He doesn't do that as much, but he used to catch rabbit and take us out fishing, and all of that he would shake and bake for us. I have been in Tyendinaga, Mohawk Territory, my home community, for the last 3 days. It is officially spearfishing season here. I am sitting on our beautiful Bay of Quinte, the place where I spent my summers. I swam in this lake, I learned to fish in this lake, and I love it here. My dad, when I was a kid, taught me how to fish. He taught a piece of fishing line onto the end of a stick, and I caught my first sunfish at the end of our dock when I was probably about 5 or 6, but I was just as excited as when I speared my first fish the other night. This is Trey. Our dads are BFFs, so he more or less had to take us out. I don't know if he really wanted to, but I'm sure he's going to enjoy it.
We'll at least get a couple anyways, so.
Fingers crossed.
When I was just a little guy with my dad, I don't know, he always went when I was younger, so I wanted to go with him. Couldn't go till I was older enough to fit into some waders. When I was about 13, I think, 14, my grandfather would take me to the rivers. We'd poke around.
In Kanyageha, Skagaraxo means pickerel, which means they have one bad eye. Pickerel are notoriously photosensitive and generally found in the deeper waters. We have to wait until it gets really, really dark tonight in order to spear them.
An even bigger one. Trey got one.
Back shot. Not very good.
Oh, Trey got another one. Oh, boy.
All right, Candace. This is your Skagaraxon right here. Have your spear kind of extended out a little bit so you got more length.
So where should I get him?
Right behind the eyeball.
Right behind his eyeballs?
Yeah.
Ready? Make sure you get him good.
Yes. Oh, did I get him?
Yep. Keep it down. Nice shot.
Yeah.
Nice shot.
Couldn't have gotten any better.
Nice shot. That was a beauty shot.
Thanks, guys.
Nice.
Your first fish?
Feels pretty good. That's all I need to get, though.
That was awesome. That was all
Thanks,
teamwork
Trey.
there. Nice.
Awesome.
You ever been spearing on a boat, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, his dad did it.
Yeah. Pretty good, eh?
Yeah, not bad.
I remember as a kid watching my dad fillet all the fish, all the pickerel that he'd catch. And a lot of times he'd do it for people in the community who couldn't fish for themselves so that he could share it. And one of the favorites, one of the delicacies of the pickerel is the pickerel cheek. And a lot of people say it tastes like a scallop. It's a little meatier. So my dad would collect all the cheeks from all the pickerel that he'd filleted and save them all, and so we could have a big feed when there was enough of them.
I like them always. Like pan fried, like this here.
Yeah.
Or when I had a bad stomach, I would broil them.
Mm-hmm.
So there was less fat.
Yep.
And of course, deep frying them.
And then when we were little, you used to shake and bake a lot of stuff, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, that was the extent of my cooking repertoire.
Because you could just throw that meat in the bag with this.
Yeah.
Some has skin and some doesn't.
Yeah. I always leave the skin on.
You leave the skin on?
Yep.
Why do you leave the skin on?
Makes it a little crispy.
So how was that, Dad? Was it that bad?
Got my Hollywood now. I'm good.
Agwego ang skarni tindi the waka ni ni ang kwat ni goda. Dan ang get no na ro ni ka jok su a kundi na gare ni wange. Etonia don't hat ni ang kwat ni goda.
Oh, that documentary made me a bit hungry. Still to come, John Sauter has the 7-day forecast and we'll have the Daily Lift. Stay with us. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
Well, here in Manitoba, the summer solstice occurred just before 10 o'clock this morning. So tomorrow is the first full day of astronomical summer. And it'll start with some showers in the morning, some clearing, though, in the afternoon. A seasonal high of 23. A little bit warmer, light winds, and should be fairly bright on Friday. The clouds, though, they do build in the afternoon. And then it looks like some rain on the weekend. Showers or rain on Saturday and at least Sunday morning, but drier next week. And around the world, many are celebrating this very special day.
It's the longest of the year, the summer solstice. Here's your Daily Lift. In England, revelers prayed and chanted as the sun rose over the fabled Stonehenge. Crowds gather at this 4,000-year-old site every year on this day. Many believe the massive stones were built to match the rising sun of the summer solstice, giving the site spiritual significance. In other countries, the day is ushered in with ceremonies, including dancing around a maypole, bonfires, and plunges into the ocean.
Yeah, dancing.
Yeah, maybe we should go jump into Lake Winnipeg later.
Yeah, or do some, do some dancing around the
maypole.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Sure.
That was the CBC Winnipeg News. We'll be back at 11. Hope you have a great evening.
See you later.